Sir James Reynolds, and that the dwarf Grimbold Stonehammer have won the battle in the Enchanted Forest.
As James Reynolds and Grimbold enjoy their leisurely afternoon of shopping in the bustling bazaar, the sounds of laughter and chatter fill the air around them. The sun beats down warmly overhead, casting dappled shadows across the cobblestone streets as vendors call out their wares and shoppers bustle about, haggling over prices and inspecting goods. Amidst the lively atmosphere, James and Grimbold find themselves drawn to a particularly enticing display of exotic trinkets and rare artifacts. As they peruse the various items on offer, their attention is suddenly caught by a commotion erupting further down the street. Curious James and Grimbold follow the sounds of raised voices and shouts, weaving their way through the crowd until they come upon a scene of chaos. A group of ruffians, their faces twisted in anger, stand menacingly over a lone figure lying prone on the ground, their belongings scattered about them.
Fall eyes with the man on the ground. James and Grimbold does not know it though. James, more confident due to the Enchanted Forest, pushed out. He asks the ruffians and victim what is happening.
As James steps forward with confidence, his armor glinting in the sunlight, the ruffians turn their attention towards him, their expressions shifting from anger to curiosity. Grimbold stands beside him, a formidable presence at his side, ready to lend his strength to whatever course of action James chooses to take. James addresses the group, his voice calm yet authoritative as he seeks to understand the situation unfolding before him. The victim, a young man with dirt-streaked cheeks and a frightened expression, scrambles to his feet, casting a worried glance at the ruffians before speaking. One of the ruffians growls, pointing an accusatory finger at the young man.
It's him! He's the one who stole from us!
James turns to the victim, his brow furrowing with concern as he listens to his side of the story. The young man explains that he was merely passing through the bazaar when he was accosted by the ruffians, who accused him of theft without cause. James asks,
"How much does he owe?"
James's question draws a begrudging response from the ruffians, who begrudgingly name a hefty sum as recompense for the alleged theft. One of the ruffians grumbles, eyeing the victim with suspicion.
He owes us a fair bit, that's for sure. Enough to teach him a lesson about crossing the wrong foe.
Shared a look with Grimbold. The money is nothing compared with what he gained at the Enchanted Forest. He decided to pay the ruffians off. The man will accost him to the Sleeping Hand Inn.
With a shared glance and a silent understanding, James and Grimbold come to a decision. Recognizing that the sum demanded by the ruffians pales in comparison to the wealth James has gained during his adventures in the Enchanted Forest, they resolve to pay off the debt in order to bring an end to the conflict and ensure the safety of the victim. Turning to the ruffians, James nods in agreement. He says, his voice firm but diplomatic.
"Very well. We will pay what is owed."
The ruffians, taken aback by the unexpected turn of events, exchange wary glances before grudgingly accepting James's offer. With the matter settled, they depart from the scene, casting suspicious glances over their shoulders as they disappear into the crowd. Turning to the victim, James extends a hand in friendship. He says, his voice filled with warmth and reassuring.
"Come with us to the Sleeping Hand Inn. You'll be safe there."
With a grateful nod, the victim accepts James's offer, his eyes brimming with relief as he follows the knight and his companions through the bustling streets of the bazaar towards the safety and sanctuary of the inn.
During the walk back, the man said his name and his work. He insisted he's done no wrong. James and Grimbold listened to his story.
As they make their way back to the Sleeping Hand Inn, Sir James and Grimbold listen attentively as the man shares his story. Introducing himself as Thomas Greenleaf, a humble merchant who travels from town to town selling his wares, he insists vehemently that he has done no wrong and that the accusations leveled against him by the ruffians are unfounded.
In the Sleeping Hand Inn, they sat down and asked him where are his wares and supplies, what the ruffians argue about, the details of the story.
Seated in the cozy confines of the Sleeping Hand Inn, James Grimbold and Thomas Greenleaf gather around a table, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of the tavern's hearth. With mugs of ale in hand and a sense of camaraderie in the air, they settle in for a conversation that promises to shed light on the events that transpired in the bazaar earlier that day. James and Grimbold lean in attentively as Thomas begins to recount the details of his story, his voice filled with a mixture of frustration and determination as he seeks to set the record straight. Thomas explains, gesturing towards the window, where the dim outline of his wagon can be seen in the fading light of day.
My wares and supplies are stored in a cart not far from here. I travel from town to town, selling goods that I acquire through honest means. I have never stolen from anyone in my life.
What exactly do they claim?
As James and Grimbolt press Thomas for further details about the accusations made by the ruffians, Thomas recounts the specific claims that were leveled against him during the altercation in the bazaar. According to Thomas, the ruffians accused him of stealing a valuable assortment of goods from them, including rare and exotic artifacts that they claimed were in his possession. They alleged that Thomas had pilfered the goods from their belongings while they were distracted, intending to make off with them and sell them for his own profit.
Doing a bit of math in his head, James said rare and exotic artifacts, but the ruffians took too little from him.
James's keen observation raises an important point. If Thomas Greenleaf had indeed stolen rare and exotic artifacts from the ruffians, it stands to reason that the value of the stolen goods would far exceed the meager sum demanded by the ruffians as restitution. Taking a moment to calculate the potential value of the stolen artifacts in his head, James realizes that the amount demanded by the ruffians seems disproportionately small compared to the value of the alleged theft. This discrepancy raises doubts about the validity of their claims and suggests that there may be more to the situation than meets the eye. Turning to Thomas, James addresses him with a thoughtful expression. He says, his voice measured and deliberate.
You make a valid point. The value of the stolen goods seems to be at odds with the amount demanded by the ruffians. It's possible that there is more to this situation than we initially thought.
Thomas realized his error, tried to cover it up.
As Thomas realizes the implications of James's observation, a flicker of panic crosses his face. Sensing the weight of his words, he scrambles to cover up his mistake, his mind racing as he searches for a plausible explanation. Thomas stammers, his voice faltering as he attempts to regain his composure.
Must have misspoken. The value of the goods, it's hard to say for certain. Perhaps they were not as valuable as I initially thought.
His words ring hollow, and James and Grimbolt exchange a knowing glance, sensing that there may be more to Thomas's story than he is letting on. Despite his attempts to conceal the truth, the discrepancy in the value of the stolen goods remains a lingering question mark, casting doubt on the validity of his claims.
James and Grimbolt shared a look. We must take a look at the cart.
With a shared look of determination, James and Grimbolt recognize the importance of investigating Thomas Greenleaf's cart to uncover any evidence that may shed light on the truth of the situation. With Thomas's credibility called into question and suspicions raised about the nature of the alleged theft, they know that they cannot afford to overlook any detail in their quest for justice. Rising from their seats at the table, James and Grimbolt motion for Thomas to lead the way to where his cart is stored. With a sense of urgency in their step, they follow him out of the sleeping hand inn and into the fading light of day, their minds focused on the task at hand. As they approach the cart, James and Grimbolt take in the sight of the wagon, its weathered exterior bearing the marks of countless journeys across the countryside. With a sense of anticipation, they begin to search the cart, carefully inspecting its contents for any sign of the stolen artifacts or other evidence that may shed light on the truth of the matter.
The silence of Thomas told James and Grimbolt all they wished to know. Thomas cried when his fault was found out. He kneeled down, honestly said his trouble.
As Thomas's silence speaks volumes, James and Grimbolt exchange a solemn glance, their hearts heavy with empathy for the troubled merchant. As Thomas breaks down in tears and kneels before them, his voice trembling with emotion, he lays bare the depths of his troubles and the mistakes that led him to this point.
Thomas drunk and gambled too much.
As Thomas admits to his struggles with alcohol and gambling, James and Grimbolt exchange a knowing glance, understanding the destructive power of addiction all too well.
His drinking got him, though. He was pauper, and which is why he's stolen from ruffians.
As Thomas reveals the depths of his struggles, James and Grimbolt listen with a mixture of sympathy and understanding.
He was a pauper, and which was why he's stolen from ruffians.
As Thomas reveals the dire circumstances that led him to resort to theft, James and Grimbolt exchange a solemn glance, recognizing the desperation and hardship that must have driven him to such extreme. With their words of support and encouragement, James and Grimbolt offer Thomas a glimmer of hope in the darkness of his despair. Though the road ahead may be long and fraught with challenges, they know that together they can find a way to overcome the obstacles that stand in their way. And so, with a sense of resolve and determination, James, Grimbolt, and their companions set out to continue their journey, knowing that they must remain vigilant and cautious in the face of the unknown. Though the road ahead may be fraught with challenges, they know that with their bond of friendship and their shared commitment to righteousness, they can overcome whatever obstacles may come their way.
This is the end of the episode. To come back and see more, please subscribe.